Here we are for another round of the 70s versus the 90s, and it's a wild look at theme parks this round with Michael Crichton's Westworld against Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. And now, let's just dive right into this one because this was a fun one, another hard one. But, at the end of the day, we got to pick which one's better. And both films are written by Michael Crichton, but Michael Crichton also directed Westworld, the first one we're going to look at. And Westworld it centers around a fucking futuristic theme park, the Delos, that has a fucking Roman world, medieval world, and of course the title Westworld. And we see we naturally you're gonna mostly focus on Westworld because that's the title of the fucking movie, and we see two friends played by Richard Benjamin and James Brolin, who they're going to Westworld, of course. When Richard Benjamin's trying to get over a divorce and all this shit, and James Brolin's his friend that he's been there, he knows all the shit and stuff, and so they go there, and James Brolin looks like a knockoff Clint Eastwood, and fucking Richard Benjamin kind of looks like a knockoff Burt Reynolds, and so they get to be kind of the cowboys of the time and shit, and and they get into a lot of wild shit, and then there's also that element that Crichton kind of touches on the element of like what runs the fucking theme park and shit, because they're all robots and shit that are the fucking interactions and shit. So you can get in gunfights with gunslingers, but you're gonna win because the fucking the machine the androids are programmed to fucking not kill humans and shit, and but of course that goes fucking awry, because about midway through the film the technicians start noticing, oh, so something might be wrong, but instead of just shut it down entirely, it's like, well, let's just deal with the shit that we've got, and then then we'll close, we'll say we're all booked up or whatever the fuck, but then naturally that's not good enough, and the fucking androids go crazy and start killing motherfuckers, and then of course spoilers, like I said, watch these fucking movies before you see these matchups, or if you just don't give a fuck, I'll spoil it all for you. I really, it's my way. I got to dissect this shit because sometimes the movies are so good that I have to nitpick every little fucking detail to prove, which one is better, And in the case of Westworld, it's a pretty fun ride, looking through it, the actors are pretty decent. Yul Brynner especially is nailing it playing a robot. Like you when you first see him, the mannerisms and shit, it's fucking solid gold, and also playing the part that he's supposed to as that robot is like the fucking Western guy, the motherfucker that led led the Magnificent Seven, and so, but then and then the chase with him and Richard Benjamin, there's which is weird, and pretty much it looks like Michael Crichton's a better writer than he is a director because the pacing of this movie is very fucking slow, and one can argue that maybe it was meant to be that way, but for a movie that's an hour and a half, it sure does feel a hell of a lot longer. Like there's just some shit that could have been made vibrant. Maybe a little banter with some of the technicians or something. It just doesn't go deep enough. And even that final chase scene where Yul Brynner is chasing Richard Benjamin and all this shit, it's just like it goes too long. And by the time something actually happens, I'm fucking exhausted. And then I just don't give a shit anymore. And then the movie just ends with Richard Benjamin staring pensively off into the screen, it was like, yeah, sure, they said it'd be fun, some vacation this week, that kind of shit, But all in all, it's not a bad movie. It's just it had a lot of flaws to it, which when you look at something like Jurassic Park, that's same writer, based off of Michael Crichton's novel, and he also co-wrote the script with David Cope, and but Spielberg is a director that knows how to fucking make these kinds of movies. And on top of that, the motherfucker gets to play with dinosaurs, where he couldn't really show the shark and make it look realistic in Jaws. Here he's got the tools and the talent, Stan Winston and David Tippett, Tippett, just to name a few. And the fucking creative team, special effects motherfucker. Those are the real shining stars of Jurassic Park. Because like you look at Westworld, there are some like great special effects and set design, but they have motherfucking dinosaurs. Robots are one thing, but motherfucking dinosaurs, man. And to bring dinosaurs to the screen, this is miles ahead of the fucking stop motion of Ray Harryhausen and shit. These are basically the fucking descendants of that fucking guy. And they're making this shit look as realistic as can possibly be to see motherfucking dinosaurs on the screen and shit. And also, it does have a better cast. Where, like, you know, the cast of Westworld is fine. The one in Jurassic Park is a lot more fun because, you know, you not only do you get Sam Neill, you know, as this badass, you know, archaeologist dude, but you get Jeff Goldblum, who's, you know, the cool guy. You know, Laura Dern's great in it. Richard Attenborough is the fucking, you know, arrogant rich guy. You know, that dude playing the lawyer is fucking great. You know, and Jeff Goldblum, dude, fucking like rides the fucking T-Rex nose into the. It's just fucking insane the amount of shit that it's thrilling. Every fucking action piece is just thrilling. There's not a moment in this movie that is not breathtaking in one form or another. And you know, Spielberg realizes too what he learned from Jaws. You know, you got to ease them into this shit. You know, because you don't really see dinosaurs until like maybe 20 minutes into the movie. You know, because that opening scene is, you know, on par with the opening of Jaws, where it's like, you know, you don't really see what's going on, but you know something's fucking dangerous, you know. And, you know, that fucking guy that's the safari guy that, you know, that has it hunting the raptors and shit, that dude's fucking great, you know. It's just a badass fucking movie, you know. And it's, you can tell Spielberg's having fun with this, you know. And it's just like, it's just a real ass fucking movie, you know. And it's like fucking 30 minutes longer than Westworld, and it goes like fucking that. You just wish there was more. You know, the fucking, the T-Rex shit, the Raptor shit, you know, every fucking thing. Obviously, it's going to Jurassic Park, you know, even though it was hard, it wasn't, you know, because the minute you put in Jurassic Park, you're just like, man, you know, Westworld was good, but goddamn fucking dinosaurs, you know. And on top of that, you don't get to see Spielberg at the top of his form, just having fun, and, you know, with a cast, you know, and also too, the kids in it aren't annoying, you know, and that's one thing you can commend Spielberg for. Anytime he had kid actors in his movies, they weren't annoying. They're actually fun and integral to the plot, you know, whereas most like movies with the kids in them, they're fucking annoying and shit. You want them to kill those fucking kids, you know. But in this one, you know, everything just kind of works out perfectly, and, you know, and it may not be as harsh as the book, but, you know, it's still pretty fucking harsh too. You know, Samuel L. Jackson getting eaten by raptors and shit, and you seeing his fucking arm, you know, and, you know, it's pretty rough shit. And like, then you're just on the edge of your seat, nail biter. So yeah, no, it goes to Jurassic Park on this one, you know. So if anybody's keeping score on that one, it's fucking 16-14. 70s are still up by 2, but, you know, the 90s are getting closer and closer, you know. And like I said, you know, just, you know, it comes down to like what just makes the better movie. What's the movie you want to watch over and over and over again? It gets better with every viewing, because like I defy anybody to not like Jurassic Park. You know, it's a movie that kind of goes like Westworld. I can see why they made it into a series, because, you know, there's so much shit they could have got into, you know, as far as like the people that run the place, you know, the fucking artificial intelligence shit. There's so much more you could have did with this. You know, it's just more like, you know, an accident in a theme park, you know, whereas like Jurassic, you know, and it makes you wonder, did they have this kind of test run that they had with Jurassic Park that they had with Westworld and shit? That in and of itself would make an interesting movie, you know. And yet again, some of these with the 70s, you know, the movie you can imagine in your head is better than the one that you saw on the fucking screen. Whereas like with the 90s were really fucking good at doing the popcorn entertainment, you know, because think about the, you know, the popcorn entertainment in the 70s was like Papillon, you know, that's what they considered fun. And whereas like in Jurassic, you know, in the 90s you get Jurassic Park, you know, shit like that. And, you know, so what more could you fucking ask for? You know, any flubs or foibles that you see in this movie, you can nitpick Jurassic Park all you want to. It's still a fucking great movie. And then yet again, another great score from John Williams, you know. And it's like, and also too, the fucked up thing where like in Westworld, it's like, you know, the fucking, just the machines fuck up. But in Jurassic Park, you know, if that goddamn Nedry guy hadn't like fucked him over, shit wouldn't have went the way it was. So it's like, human beings are far shittier than, you know, you can't even really be mad at the animals. You know, they brought them into this world, they couldn't control them. They thought they could, you know, everybody thinks they can control shit, but, you know, look where that gets you, you know. So it's just, it's fucking great. So 16-14, 90s won this round. 70s are still up by 2, but like I said, the 90s are gaining, you know. So it, you know, and Spielberg, that's why he's considered the man. Shit like Jaws and Jurassic Park, you know. Michael Crichton, you know, way better as a writer than he is a director. Most of the shit that he directed was very mid. more better of a concept than it was an actual film. You know, couldn't quite nail the execution, but Spielberg, you give him some fucking grand special effects where he's able to play, you know, and he still kind of applies the less is more method, but you know, still be very grandiose. The fucking that Cecil B. DeMille type showmanship, you know. And yet again, the special effects team can't be praised enough. Like, it's just an explosive fucking movie. So, like I said, if I've said anything wrong or anything you disagree with, feel free to eviscerate me in the comments. I don't give a shit if you got any suggestions or, you know, anything you like to add on to it as well. You know, have a discussion. I'm open for that shit too. You know, round table it. You know, this is a personal academic journey. You know, nobody gives a fuck about this shit but me. But anywho, the next main event will be 3 Days of the Condor versus Spy Game. And of course, I'll have some bonus rounds in between that. But I look forward to that next week. And, you know, biggest takeaway is fucking Spielberg and dinosaurs, bro. You can't fucking beat him. But, and, you know, Michael Crichton clearly has something against fucking theme parks and shit. Or maybe it's just a really good trope to play with. But all in all, you gotta have a great director and a great fucking, like, team to make a great movie, you know. And it also, like, you gotta really just get into the film, you know, without, like, just being vague and shit, you know, just have fun with it, you know. Now I'm rambling, but point is, 16-14, 70s up by 2, 90s are coming back, baby.